Started in 5 minutes. Good evening. Thank you for coming to our mental health presentation and meet and greet with Counselor Lai. The presentation today will be recorded. The mental health presentation will be given by Maithili, a passionate and enthusiastic individual who has a passion for working closely in the community and offering support and guidance to those in need through experiences at numerous organizations in the GTA. Currently, she works part-time at the Tamil Canadian Centre for Civic Action and Morningside Heights Neighborhood Association as a community outreach coordinator. Additionally, Maithili has completed her undergrad studies at the University of Toronto, where she completed a Bachelor's of Science in Mental Health and Health Studies. Maithili plans to pursue her Master's in Public Health and Health Policy to explore further her passion for working with underprivileged youth and minority groups in Canada. After the presentation concludes, we will have a question and answer session with Counselor Lai. You can ask your questions in one of two ways. The first is by typing in your questions using the chat box on the bottom right of your screen, or you can raise your hand by clicking the hand icon and asking your question verbally. Jim will be providing the counselor's remarks.
Thank you very much, Dominic. And I just want to acknowledge the work that Dominic does on behalf of Councillor Lai's Youth Council. My name is Jim Murphy. I'm the Chief of Staff to Councillor Lai, who should be joining us momentarily. I wanted to provide just some introductory comments from our office. and to all those of you who have joined us this evening. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to talk about a very important subject. Maithili joined our office as a youth fellowship student this winter and spring, actually in March. And one of her areas of focus is health issues, and in particular, mental health issues. We have all, as a community, come through a very difficult time. COVID-19 has affected us all. And Councillor Lai would say it's the young people who's been affected the most. Being at home, working from home, taking school courses online has created a lot of stress in your lives. For young people, this is even more important, as schooling and work is also about social interaction, about meeting friends, about making new friends, and building a social network. It's an important time in your lives. This has all been very difficult to do during COVID when we've gone through several lockdowns across the city. As Dominic indicated, Maithili will be making a presentation on some of these issues, many of which were raised by you in your answers to a survey that was circulated prior to tonight's meeting and discussion. As Dominic also said, after the presentation, there'll be time for questions and for discussion. And so with that, I want to welcome Maithili and look forward to her presentation and to the discussion afterwards. Maithili?
Thank you so much for that, Jim. Hello, everyone. My name is Maithili Parameswaran. As Jim mentioned, I am one of the fellows working at Councillor Lai's office, and it has been a great experience, and I'm very excited to be here with all of you guys today to go ahead and just have a quick presentation, again, based on the results that we got through our survey that was sent out a few weeks ago. So I guess before I get started, like Dominic had mentioned, a little bit about myself. My undergraduate degree, I went to U of T of Scarborough in mental health studies and mental health and health studies. After that, I had been working through multiple organizations in the GTA, SAC, which is the South Asian Autism Awareness Center, Canadian Youth Tamil Development, Tamil Canadian Civic Action, the Morningside Heights Neighborhood Organization. So a lot of these organizations were part-time roles that I took on. Again, really focused on working with youth, working with ongoing issues and concerns that youth had, providing programs, outreach. Now, I did take a break from my community outreach and the work I was doing in more of the social aspect. And I did actually end up working at a bank during COVID part-time. So during COVID, prior to COVID, I took a break and I thought, maybe I'll explore other career areas. I know a lot of you guys are in that same platform right now, which is why I say it. So I did explore other opportunities. And then when COVID hit, we were all told to, stay home, stay put. I realized that passion that I had for working with the community, being able to speak with members of the community and really be able to provide any kind of expertise or just guiding them towards services, that's something I really enjoyed. So it motivated me to get myself out there in the community again, which is why when the fellowship opportunity came, despite still working another job, I still took the opportunity to go ahead and apply for the fellowship, and I got placed at Councillor Lai's office. And that experience really helped me to connect back with the community, really helped me also build my portfolio towards what's next for me, how I'm going to give back to the community. And that's why I'm here today. And that's why we took this initiative as a team at Councillor Lai's office to really be able to connect with the youth and the youth council. So before I get started, again, that's a little bit about me, but I also just want to know, I know we have a few people here, so majority of you, just I guess by show of hands, are you guys in high school or university? I know we have a good mix, but I just want to know who we have in the crowd. Any high school students? Show of hands. See, 1, 2, 3. Nice. Okay. So a few of you guys. Anyone in university right now? One person? Okay. All right, good to know. Thank you for that. So I'll, of course, kind of at the end when I refer to like resources, I want to just make sure it's tailored to what you got, what would benefit you guys, which is why I asked. Now, mental health. We'll go to the next slide, I guess. Okay, table of contents. We're going to look into the health and why it's related to mental health itself. Then we'll move into stress management, talking about a little bit about mindfulness, and I will give you guys an activity at the end as well. So first thing, what is mental health? What is the definition? How is it related to our overall health? So mental health is an important component of health. If you look at WHO's constitution, it states that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease. So an important implication of this definition is that mental health is more than just the absence of mental disorders or disabilities. Mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities and cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. Mental health is fundamental to our collective and individual ability as humans to think, interact with each other, and earn a living and enjoy life. On the basis, the promotion, the protection, and restoration of our mental health is a vital concern for individuals, communities, and societies throughout the world, especially in present times. So, next slide, thank you. Now, there are multiple factors that impact and then that determines one's level of mental health at any time. So that could be associated with biological factors, social factors, psychological factors. So poor mental health usually means that one of these areas there's a concern or there's a lack of. So some things to think about is maybe an unhealthy lifestyle. Maybe there is a pre-existing condition. Maybe there's something biological that needs to be further explored. Maybe it's a stressful working condition, or maybe it could be a social rapid change, such as the pandemic, which we've been experiencing. Now, there are specific psychological and personality factors that make people more vulnerable than others. And usually these factors, you would reach out to like a medical professional for more of a deeper diagnosis. So at this point, I would want to say that I am not a medical professional. The information I'm rather presenting to you is based on more of like personal experiences, lived experiences, based on my educational background. If any of you feel that you need additional help, at the end there will be extra support services and phone numbers there for you that you can always refer to. This is more like a guide based on our findings and our research that we had done. Jason, next slide, please. So again, as mentioned, as part of my fellowship, I was doing a project with the guidance of Councillor Lai, just to really understand what is the mental health state of the youth of the ward. So we had conducted a survey with the youth on our youth council and the youth volunteers we have internally as well, just to really understand the gaps, the societal challenges, and the systematic barriers that you may experience. So overall, we had surveyed 75% of them were high school students, 25% of them were university students. Now, two key questions in the survey that really helped drive this presentation itself is, if you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed out, who do you talk to? So it's pretty interesting to find out that 50% of youth, well, not interesting, I would say standard to really find out that 50% of youth and young adults feel comfortable speaking to a friend. 25% feel comfortable speaking to a family member versus another 25% feel comfortable speaking to a trusted adult. In addition to that, when we were looking at major stresses in life, the major stresses for majority of them, 50%, is school. The rest, 25, was about future prospects. It could be such as their career, job prospects, next steps when it comes to university. In addition to that, another 25% felt like their friends, their social life, life after pandemic, these were the common stresses in their life at present time. So feeling like there are many stresses and pressure on us is common. A lot of us sometimes lose sleep when we think about all the things that we have to do tomorrow. And for young adults, we notice that, people are losing sleep over worrying about tests, schoolwork. We live in a culture where we're constantly on the go, and our schedules are jam-packed with assignments, presentations, after school programs, university applications. So we may just not find the time to really take care of ourselves. What I do want you to understand is that you're not alone. Everyone feels stressed out at a time, adults, teens, even kids. But you can't really avoid getting too stressed. But the best thing that you can do is you learn to handle these situations and the pressures and the problems. So how you do that is by staying calm and asking yourself, what it is that's really triggering you. So before we move forward, next slide, Jason. Something that is key for you to really ask yourself is, or really to identify, is how your body responds when you're experiencing something stressful. So stress is a response to pressure or an outside threat. Under stress, we may feel tense, nervous, or even on edge. So the stress response it could even be physical. Sometimes you might physically feel like you have an ache or a headache because of what you're feeling. So stress triggers usually surge a hormone called adrenaline that temporarily affect the nervous system. As a result, when you're nervous or stressed, you might feel your heart beat faster or your breathing get faster. Your palms might even get sweaty or your knees might start shaking. This stress response is called the flight or fight response, and it's an automatic response that prepares us to deal with danger. It's something that's been innate in us since the time of the monkeys, for instance. All animals, all human beings, we go through this flight or fight response. It's just how we handle it going forward. So a situation, it doesn't have to be physically dangerous for us for the system to be activated and to respond to that stress. Everyday pressures such as taking a test, giving a class presentation, facing a tough opponent in a sport, or going on stage for a performance. If I had to be honest with you, even before starting this presentation, I felt like I had the flight or fight response kind of kicking in at one point, right? Now, when the challenge is over, you'll notice that your stress response loosens up. So you'll notice like a rush of emotions. You'll notice, your heartbeat being faster. And then at one point, you might feel like that your heartbeat stables out again. You feel at ease. And that's when you start to feel comfortable. That's that response state. And it's really that at that point is when you have to be really mindful of how your body is acting and how your body responds to stresses. Now, over time, if you're not able to really understand and really identify how your body responds to stresses, you might notice that there might be like long lasting effects on your body. It could be maybe low levels of energy. You might constantly feel tired or overwhelmed. You might find that coping with even the smallest thing might become difficult over time just because we're not able to manage it. Now, next slide. So the most important thing that I want to go through today is how do we manage our stress? How do we keep things under control? So some activities, and again, these are all things that I practice on a regular basis, but I'll go through it with you guys in deep. And I want to know if you guys already do this, and if you are doing it, then how is it working for you? So one thing that everyone in my family, my friends make fun of me is I schedule everything. I have an agenda and I schedule every little task that I need to complete. It's been a habit that I've had since probably middle school until now. I continue to do the same thing. If you look, I have a stack of agendas in my closet from when I was younger to now. But it's really important to really schedule yourself and set priorities for your day. Even if it's the night before, you want to just make sure, okay, tomorrow I need to attend class, prepare for this test, and work on this presentation. So when you set those priorities, you can really tell yourself, okay, what's the most important thing? Maybe you have another thing there, which is like get caught up on a lecture note. Now, if you have some time, maybe that can be least of your priorities versus attending class or preparing for a test that's the next day. So it's really important to schedule your day and set priorities. How many of you have an agenda and already do this? Karen, okay, thanks for sharing. Let me see if there's any other hands. Inia, thank you. Do you guys prefer like virtual agendas, or do you actually like physically write in like a book? Virtual. Okay, nice. Yeah, and there's multiple platforms as well that you can use. I prefer writing. I'm like you as well, Niga. I like writing and crossing it off. But either or, as long as you're maintaining it and setting a schedule, you'll feel that, at least now, everything that's jumbled up in your head, you can at least put it down on paper or on an app, and you're able to see what needs to get done. Now, second, you also want to be realistic and look at the bigger picture. So every day, there's always going to be a task waiting for you. There's always going to be something that you have to get done. The most important thing is to not overwhelm yourself. Set realistic goals. So when you're setting those goals at the first part, make sure that in a day you can't get through 10 lectures, but maybe it's fair to say I'll try to get through 2 lectures, right? At the end of the day, the end goal is to, by the end of the year, be able to pass that course or present your thesis, whatever it might be. But you want to set small and realistic goals and practice the self-acceptance to help look at the bigger picture. Remember that even the smallest task that you complete on any given day is going to be one step closer to your end goal. Another important thing is getting a good night's sleep. So getting enough sleep helps you keep your body and your mind in top shape, making you better equipped to deal with any negative stressors. Because at a point, our body goes through a shift, especially in the adolescence point, where our biological sleep clock changes. And a lot of teens would prefer to stay up later at night and sleep a little earlier, sleep in earlier in the morning. Now, it's hard to do this and really give yourself that 8 hours of sleep that you need to be productive if you're sleeping late and you have to get up for like an 8 a.m. class or 7 a.m. for school. So it's really important to, again, disconnect and make sure you're getting the 8 hours of sleep that you need in a day. Next thing is to practice mindfulness. The body's natural antidote to stress is called relaxation response. So this response is simply relaxing. It's literally telling your mind to take a break. So we need to learn and practice easy breathing exercises, using them when we're caught up in stressful situations, and really give ourselves a break, a much needed break, I would say. Additionally, you also want to make time to do something you enjoy. So if it's in your schedule, give yourself some time to maybe listen to some songs, read a book if that's what you enjoy, practice playing your favorite instrument, if it's a flute, a clarinet, whatever it might be. It could even be playing with your pet or taking that walk, doing a hobby that you enjoy, if it's painting, crochet, knitting. Spend time with positive people, even if you take 15 minutes out of your day to maybe take a call and check in with your mom or check in with your friend. Or it could even be taking such things such as like a nature walk, especially with the weather getting better. Other ways to manage your stress is also self-care. So self-care is probably the last thing on everyone's priority list, but I believe it should be number one on our priority list. Treating your body is as important as going to school, especially in your case, right? Getting regular exercise, making sure you're eating healthy food is really important for your body to function, especially when you're in stressed out situations. It's really easy to just binge eat or eat junk food, munch on a whole bunch of chips because that's what we want to do when we're stressed out. But really giving your brain and your body the nutrients that it needs to adapt to these situations is crucial. So of course, it's nice to have that late night snack when you're cramming for a test, but also give yourself an opportunity to maybe eat some vegetables or even maybe disconnect and take a warm shower. These are different ways to kind of give yourself the self-care that you need. Another important thing to think about when you want to manage your stress is an external factor, which is surrounding yourself and building positive relationships. So these relationships can be friends, can be family members, can be teachers, can be other volunteers or youth, anyone that you interact with, but you really want to make sure that you're surrounding yourself around people who boost your energy, who boost you to feel confident and to be able to achieve anything. You want to really understand, and this is an age where you really want to see if the people around you are contributing in a positive or a negative way towards your energy levels, and really make sure that if there is anyone that's negatively impacting your energy, that you do kind of move away from that and start building positive relationships elsewhere. Last thing is the hardest thing to do in a social world that we live. We're on a social platform as we speak, but it's very important to disconnect and try a digital detox. I personally go through a digital detox maybe every 4 to 5 months, where maybe there's a month to 2 months where I don't go on Instagram or Snapchat. And I know it sounds hard, but sometimes you need to do that. And I often catch myself sometimes, especially during my time when I was in school, if I'm always with my Instagram app and I see everyone get accepted to like medical school and master's programs, that starts adding stress to me. I'm like, oh no, like I start comparing myself to my peers, and I notice that I get overwhelmed. So I'll delete the app right away and I eliminate that stressor that makes me feel like I'm competing with other people. Right? So a digital detox is really good. You need to know that although we live in a world where technology plays a big role, it is okay to put your phone away and take time to read or go outside, visit a loved one. You can even do it in small increments. You could do it every day. Maybe after 9 o'clock, you don't touch your apps. Your phones are great now. They're equipped to kind of lock these apps away, or it tells you when you spent too much time on your apps, which is another great feature that you can use. Now, even with doing all of this, there still will be challenges that come across, good or bad. Stress management, it really comes down to practicing what works best for you and how you manage over time. All of these might not work for you. Maybe there's only one out of the 6 or 7 options here that work for you, but it's really being able to train your body and training yourself to be able to incorporate these activities once you feel those triggers in your body. Sorry, next slide. So one of the most important things that I am going to touch base is mindfulness. So out of everything that we talked about on the previous slide, mindfulness is the one that's a little bit, I would say, complicated to understand, but the easiest to practice. So what is mindfulness? Mindfulness, it's just an exercise that really helps us take care of our bodies. It's a skill that keeps our minds healthy. So mindfulness helps us perform at our best and better navigate the ups and downs of life. It's about noticing and being curious about what's happening right now. It's the opposite of being on autopilot. So when our bodies are doing one thing and our minds are somewhere else, often thinking about the past or worrying about the future, when we're being mindful, we engage in our senses deliberately, and we are really taking into account what we're doing in that current moment. So it's about understanding what we see, what we smell, what we hear, what we touch. It's to build our muscles to really understand at that point what it is that my body is doing, what it is that my body is thinking. Now, why is mindfulness so important? It's because our minds are really good at distracting us. Many times our minds are back in the past, and it's on and off. It's jumping from place A to place B. Think about it like a small person, almost like Inside Out. If you guys have watched the movie, there's all these controls in our brain, and they're constantly jumping from one end to the other end. And when you're being mindful, you're really telling that little control person to be like, nope, I want you to focus on this one thing, whatever it is that we're doing at this point. So you're not planning for your future. When you're in this presentation, you're probably already thinking, what am I going to have for dinner at 8 o'clock? But you really just have to remind yourself to come back and say what it is that's happening in front of me and how am I going to focus on this. Now, mindfulness, some people confuse it to meditation. It is a form of meditation for sure, but it's also just it's also treated as a coping mechanism. A lot of people use it to relax. They might sit in a meditation pose just to kind of focus on it, but it's really to reduce stress, improve your sleep. It can also help us better access our creativity and be more productive. So at any time, if you feel like, there's way too much going on, you just need to take that extra moment to really realign your focus, and that's what mindfulness is. Next slide, please. So what are some benefits of mindfulness? If you're ever finding yourself feeling anxious or overwhelmed, like I mentioned, and your attention's being divided in like multiple directions, such as school, stress, or relationships, and you feel strong emotions in every aspect, mindfulness can really help you regain your calm, to relax. It can improve your focus. It grounds your attention to the present moment. you could choose how to respond instead of reacting. So oftentimes when we're really stressed out, we might feel that we act compulsive or we might make decisions without really thinking. So that's when mindfulness comes into fact. It tells us to kind of pause, really think about our actions before presenting. It also helps build a self-care routine over time, and it also lets you connect with the world and connect with yourself and the world overall. Now, mindfulness, I want to be correct about this, is it's not about forcing yourself to feel a certain way, but it's about accepting how you feel in a given moment with kindness. So for some people, you might have experienced stressful or upsetting situations triggered by certain sensations. It's important to connect at that point with your body, and again, to speak to someone that you feel comfortable with, to really put that practice in place, whatever the triggers might be, but to really put the practice in place of how do I feel in this moment and how am I going to overcome this? And mindfulness will really help you come into terms of those emotions that you feel at those times. Now, next slide. Thank you. Some ways that you could really practice mindfulness, and I'm sure some of you guys already do this. Have you guys heard of breathing exercises? Is that a common term you've heard of? I see Karen nodding. Okay, perfect. So yes, breathing exercises is common. Even like taking a deep breath itself is a breathing exercise, right? So all of you have definitely heard of breathing exercises. It helps you visualize and narrow in on your breathing. By connecting with your breathing, you can really learn how you respond to your thoughts and your feelings. Now, in addition to that, other ways to practice mindfulness, like I said earlier, is you really want to train your mind to practice it on a regular basis. So every day you strengthen, just like how you go to the gym and you work out and you strengthen your body and your muscles, you want to strengthen your brain to really be mindful of situations. So some things, a really good example that was told to me back in the days was when I'm brushing my teeth. While I'm brushing my teeth, I'm already thinking about what should I have for breakfast. But they told me, hey, no, when you're brushing your teeth, your only focus should be on brushing your teeth. We're already jumping 3 steps ahead because that's the world we live in. We're very fast paced. But by practicing mindfulness, from when you start brushing your teeth, you'll realize on every day, you'll start focusing on the little tasks in your day. Another way to practice mindfulness is to connect with nature. So like I mentioned earlier, going on a walk, noticing how your body responds to senses, when you hear the birds chirp, when you see the sun out. So right now it's great because everyone's been feeling the winter blues, and now that the sun's out again, we're all starting to feel high energy levels. So take that time to go outside and really connect with nature. Listen to what you hear and how those feelings, or what you hear, how does it make you feel? How does it feel when the sun hits your body? Do you feel more energy? Do you feel happy? In addition to that, you might want to even consider a hobby. So usually when you're doing a hobby, your only focus really becomes that hobby, whether it be play an instrument, whether it be read a book. So which is why mindfulness and taking part in your hobbies or really practicing your creative art really go hand in hand. So by practicing your flute or your clarinet, you are already practicing in mindfulness. A last thing that is very hard to do, but has been a really difficult for me to adapt at least, has been grounding techniques. So while being mindful, you want gentle awareness of your present moment. So grounding techniques really help you connect with what's presently happening around you. So some things that you guys might have seen and done is like if you're feeling anxious, you might be tapping your feet. That's your body really kind of connecting with your surrounding to kind of elevate and ground yourself. So even tapping your feet is a grounding mechanism that we use. You might see some people like tapping their wrists, tapping their heads, just to kind of make sure that all your senses are in a line. So for me, for instance, when I'm overwhelmed or stressed, a grounding technique that really works well for me is the 5 senses. So I look at it, I'm like, what's one thing I can see? So I focus my energy on the one thing that I can see. Then what's one sound I can hear? What's something I can feel at the top of my fingertips? What's a smell that, oh yeah, nice, Karen. That's good to know that you use that. What's a smell or what's a sense that I can smell? So right now, my coffee is my focus right now when I start sensing it, right? And then if you can taste something, sometimes some people say, I taste my toothpaste from this morning. So when you really focus yourself, your senses all get in a line, and then again, your body's at ease. And what's really important is to bring your body back to that response state, from that flight to the response. And so grounding techniques are really great at helping you with that. Now, these are just some examples of how you can practice it. There's a million other resources and ways to practice mindfulness. Yoga is also a really great way to practice mindfulness. Next slide, please. Okay, so before I let you guys go, I did want to just introduce a quick breathing exercise. So this is for a it's a very deep and slow-paced breathing exercise. It's used to calm down the nerves in situations of panic or anxiety. So even right now, while you guys are sitting there, get comfortable in your seat, position your back straight against the chair, and put your foot flat on the ground, right? Okay, so now breathe out for 4 seconds to empty your lung. And inhale for 4 seconds. Hold and slowly exhale. So we could do that over and over again. You'll really realize that when you're focusing yourself on that breathing, again, your mind is at ease. You really are able to refocus your energy on whatever it is that you're doing at that moment, and really bring your energies back. So that is the end of my presentation. I hope you guys were able to take something away from that. Now I am going to go ahead and open it for the floor. Before I do, actually, I have one last slide that I would like you guys to make note of. It's more about resources in our community itself. Jason, if you could go to the next slide. So Kids Help Phone is a common resource everyone can use. You can call the confidential line if you need any access to any support. Your school guidance counselors are equipped to help you and guide you guys as well. So whether it be university, or university has health services, and then if you're in high school, you guys have guidance counselors who are equipped to help you and find resources in your area. In addition to that, What's Up Walk-In is provided by RBC. So it is a free counseling service that it's online. You guys can log in and go ahead and book an appointment. They connect you with a counselor. It's for youth and young adults up to 24 years old. So if at any time you feel like you would want to speak to someone and you don't have someone to reach out to, this is a great service for you as well. So of course, I think that will help you. And if you want to note it down, please go ahead. That officially ends my presentation, and that opens up for discussion. If anyone has any questions, any comments, or how do you manage your stress and your anxiety? Thank you. Let me see if there's any questions. Okay, so no questions so far. That's not a problem. I just wanted to ask, I know earlier we talked about, what works best in terms of scheduling. Do you use a virtual agenda or an application? So some of you said you use an app. Now, when it comes to like grounding techniques, I know Karen, you mentioned you do the 5 senses. Is there any other popular grounding techniques that anyone else is aware of and that they use? You're so quiet today. No worries, guys. I appreciate you still taking part and answering whatever you could earlier. I will pass it over to Jen.
Yeah, and I think Dominic was going to say some comments too. Maithili,
yes,
thank you very much. Councillor Lai has joined us, I see.
Great.
So may have some comments also. But maybe just before we turn it back to Dominic, was there anybody that did have any questions, either through the chat box, or if you just unmute, you can just be brave and ask a question of Maithili or of Dominic. I mean, it was great presentation, and I think very timely in light of all the things that are happening in the community and COVID and everything else, and just the stresses of everyday life, really. But just before passing it back to Dominic or to the counselor who may want to say some comments, was there any sort of final things that people wanted to add, or things, as Maithili says, that work for you, that you find that are beneficial in terms of getting through some of these challenges? It is a quiet group.
Jackie want to
has her
say
hand up.
something. Yes, Jackie want to say something.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Hi, thank you again for that amazing presentation. I just had a quick question for you, Maithili. So during high school, what were some of like the coping mechanisms that you used to help with your mental health, especially in like the senior grades, so like grade 11 or grade 12? How did you cope?
So let me ask you a question, a follow-up question to yours. So what would you say right now, being in like your grade 11, grade 12, what is like your biggest stress? I already know, but I want to hear it from you.
Okay, I'll say probably just like schoolwork, and maybe just
Schoolwork,
like, the
university
people that, yeah,
applications.
and also like the social environment sometimes too.
Okay. And there's multiple ways. So frankly, in high school, I was not, I was social, but I would say like I was not the most popular kid in school, right? I was very like academically inclined. I spent a lot of time in extracurricular activities. So how did I cope with a lot of the stresses? I would say is really getting myself out there, getting myself involved. I'm someone who I felt like if I had free time, it gave my mind more time to wander. So I would usually get involved with like student council, dance committee, choir, animal rights club, name it. I was part of everything that I could, and I filled my schedule. But even at that time, there were still days where I felt overwhelmed. I felt like, especially socially, being in grade 11 and 12, you feel like, and high school is a really fun time where there's like different groups of people and you really are trying to figure out where you belong. So for me, being a part of these communities and these other organizations really helped me find myself as a person. So like like I said, the groups I was involved in, they were so different, like dance, and then some of it was like social activism. So I got to meet a lot of different types of people, and it really helped me figure out who I am as an individual, which kind of built who I became over time. Now, another thing for me when I was in high school that was a stressor was university, because everything you do and everything that you're working towards is that acceptance letter at that point, right? So how am I managing school? Like, am I taking the right courses? Is this mark enough? How do I manage social life with my academic life? So those times is when scheduling came into play. I'm an often visitor of my guidance counselor, even if it was like, if I'm stressed out, I would just go sit on their chair and be like, I need to talk. I need someone to listen to. And that's where your guidance counselors really come into play. I would say also give yourself a break whenever you can. So if you find that Monday to Friday, you're just jam packed school, don't look at school one day on the weekend, right? Do as much as you can Friday night, and then Saturday, really give yourself that break because you deserve the break, right? In grade 11 and 12, it's really hard because we feel like we're in a constant race because everyone is trying to get that acceptance letter. But you really need to give yourself that break. And I feel like the ones that do give themselves the break are able to, on long term, you're able to manage even like adult problems better versus, because it's really important to give yourself that break and know that you need the break, right? I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it really does. And I can totally relate. Like, for myself, I also don't like, giving myself that much free time. I like to keep myself busy. But then at the same time, I feel like, there's that guilt where I want, like, if I do choose to take some free time for myself,
Yeah.
I feel like I should be doing something instead of just sitting there binge watching like my favorite show on Netflix, right? I
Yes.
feel like I should just, do some work, even though it makes me feel even more miserable. And I feel like, a lot of students, or just the students who are in like those competitive programs like IB or AP, right? They feel even more of that guilt. They feel like they need to keep themselves occupied, or else they would, they feel like unproductive students. And I feel like we really need to change that culture, right? Saying
Correct.
that it's okay to, take a break, to take time for ourselves. And yeah, I absolutely agree. Thanks for your response.
Yeah, I was an IB student too, so I totally feel where you're coming from. It is not fun, especially when you're around a whole bunch of other overachievers who are like on a race. But really give yourself that break. Don't feel bad. It's like if you were into the gym and you just decide to have that bag of chips just because it's a guilty pleasure. So that self-care time is your guilty pleasure and you deserve it. So I'm glad that, definitely take it. Take it this weekend. Take a walk or finish watching that show. And I'm telling you, it's okay. No one is going to come after you. Anyone else? Thank you so much for that, Jackie.
Well, as I always wanted to have the last word, I think, Dominic, you should go first before I wrap up.
Yes.
Thank you for coming tonight, and thank you, Maithili, for that wonderful presentation. It was really nice working with Maithili setting this up. We worked so hard, and she worked so hard in doing the presentation. And I'll pass it to the counselor.
Have we just lost the counselor there, or is the counselor on mute? There she is. You're on mute, counselor? You're on
Yeah,
mute.
I'm trying
Oh, there you
to
are.
send my video. And then I was just telling you that I just came back from downtown, and it is quite a fight of traffic, that. So, wrap up. Let's see what we have for us. Thank you so much, Maithili, for your presentation, and to Dominic for doing a good job, and for the people who attended here, my usuals, Eileen, Karen, Jackie, and Inia. And Jojo. We have Jojo here, so I was hoping that we can actually expand this youth council a little bit more. But I guess all the youth are shy these days, and they're kind of coming down with the with the mental health bug or something, and they don't feel like talking to people and socializing and all that, because like, I'm sure it's what part of schooling is about socializing with your peers and with your friends and with all these people that that are in school. I just wanted to kind of quickly, I think we have about 10 minutes. I'm not going to take 10 minutes, so I think everybody has a long day. And what I wanted to quote a couple of, well, I won't say stories, I would say songs, the lyrics. I always like to make my speech through some of the lyrics. I don't know whether you know the song by Whitney Houston. I believe that children are our future, and children include youths. Teach them well and let them lead the way, and show them all the beauty they have inside. Your generation is so much different from my generation, or from your older cousin, or maybe your uncle's generation. We're in a different generation. We're focused on different things. We the baby boomers, I call myself. We have nothing. We don't have any computer. We have no cell phone. We don't have Google. I mean, I ask my son something. My son would say, "Mom, why don't you ask Google?" Oh, oh, wow. You mean I can actually ask Google? So I learned, right? I learned from all of you. So basically, I think you are the future. You are our future generation. And we, as baby boomers, we worked very hard. I'm sure your parents worked very hard to get you where you are now. And you have no idea how hard they work. And your generation is so much better, so much different from our generation. So you're focused on different things. We are focused on putting food on the table, from our generation. But you are focusing, your generation, you're focusing on spending money, right? Because, your parents spoiled you and, you wanted this, you wanted that. They usually just sell it and buy it for you and all that. But I think you're focused on different things as well. You are focusing on environment, right? I'm sure this is your world now. I mean, I'll be long gone. I don't care about well, we something I don't care, but I need to, climate change and all that is affecting us now. We need you guys need to take the lead in doing a good job in combating them. Just like when we were the baby boomers, the industrial revolution, they have to, they have to invent this, they have to invent that, and they have to do this and they have to do that. So your job is actually to look after your world, the environment. And I think there's more things that you guys are different. Focus on technology now. The Tesla car and all these what do you call it? Those AIs or different. I have no idea. I have no idea what you guys are doing. Yeah, but today's subject is very good. Mental health. Whatever you do, you have to care about your own health, including mental health. If you don't, like Maithili said, if you want to share and want somebody to hear you out, do it. Don't be shy, try to be opening up yourself, because people might give you a different perspective. You might be wrong. You may learn something from it. Just like I learn things every day. Because I keep an open mind. I don't jump to conclusions. I always give an open mind and let's see what people have to say. Even if I know it, I would say, I don't know it, show me. You know what? Then somebody else is going to show you something. Then you learn something more. This is my style. But anyways, I think you guys are great, and I really appreciate your commitment to our youth council here. I wish you all the best, and don't forget all the resources that you can Maithili give you, that you can help, where you can get the help and all that. I don't know about your relationship with the parents. I went to watch the Turning Red over the weekend at the Chinese Cultural Center, big screening. Okay, the beginning. One of my girlfriend's daughter was late. I said, "You missed the best part of the movie." And she said, "What, Auntie?" I said, "Look, beginning it says, one of the rules for Chinese culture is honor your parents. They had a hard life, I'm telling you, okay? They have a hard life. You should honor them." And I'm not sure, I'm sure maybe this is Tamil culture as well too. In most of the East Asian culture, we look after our parents, our grandparents, and you mustn't forget this is what you do. Like Jackie, you said that sometimes you feel like you work too hard or something. Spend a day with your parents. They'll be so thrilled. You improve their mental health, I'm telling you. Some little things like this, I think it will help. And I think you guys are great. I'm sure everybody, you will be our future leaders. I wish you all the best, and please just keep plugging away, and hopefully the pandemic will end soon. Everybody will go back to normal life. Okay, that's all I have to say. Jim.
Oh, thank you, Counselor. Very important words and advice, and that's what today was about, and that was tonight about, in terms of some of the issues. And Maithili really brought a lot of those things forward, and so it was very good, and everybody was engaged, which was great. Questions, and I'm seeing lots of thumbs up and applause. So anyway, thank you for your time tonight. I know we're all very busy. And thank you, Dominic, for chairing the Youth Council and for emceeing tonight. And thank you, Maithili, for the presentation and all the hard work that you put into it in terms of the research and putting the presentation together. As Dominic said at the beginning, we've actually recorded tonight's session, so we'll have that, and we'll do a couple of pictures for the counselors' email newsletter this week also on it. So thank you, everybody. And
Can we actually turn on the camera and take a group photo together, if you don't mind?
Sure.
I want to put a name to a face.
Can everybody put their cameras on, their TVs? I'm seeing Eileen and Jojo and
Jojo and Inia. I like to
just
see
so
your
they're
pretty
gonna take
face.
a
Yeah.
picture and
So we'll take a quick
everybody there.
picture.
Jason, you were going to take a picture. Weren't you going to take some pictures, Jason? I think Jason was going to help us out on that.
Hello,
That'd be great.
Eileen, Jojo, Inia. Oh, you look beautiful. Jojo, you're not turning on? Or maybe he isn't, or she. Is it a he or she? I don't even know. So if you turn it on, I know whether you are she or he. Still not on. Okay, let's go. Thank you. We're done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Have
so
a good
much.
evening, everybody.
Have a good evening, everybody. Thanks, Maithili, again.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.